Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we are here to speak about one of our favorite subjects, and that is blockchain, and particularly blockchain around emerging markets. And just a few headlines, if you didn't tune in to blockchain and crypto in the news earlier today, Bitcoin crossed 50K again and surpassed $51,000 earlier today. Coinbase has continued to make headlines as they are readying their public listing and seeing a valuation from private markets of around $77 billion, and also has opened a wait list for Ethereum 2.0 staking. And no longer are they requiring someone to have 32 ETH, which is the typical amount to run a validator node. But now anybody can stake any amount of ETH through Coinbase to support the Ethereum 2.0 network. Excited to see where that goes. Bitwise also has launched a DeFi crypto index fund. Also, we saw 100 million, I'm not wrong on that, $100 million sold in the last 30 days around crypto collectibles or NFTs. According to Crypto Slam, NBA Top Shop, created by Dapper Labs, was the top selling NFT platform with about $6 million in the last 24 hours and almost 70 million in the last 30 days, followed by Hashmax and then CryptoPunks to close us out on that top three, seeing almost $13.5 million sold in the last 24 hours. South Africa and Sweden have announced they're continuing their central bank digital currency or CBDCs trials, whether it is extending the investigation and looking for that not just wholesale currency, but also the settlement token, or how they are going to be constructing, the digital version of their local currencies as well. And MicroStrategies makes news again today here in 24 hours. Just after yesterday, they announced the opportunity for a raise of $600 million to increase their holdings in Bitcoin. Today, they turned around and said, we want to go even bigger and are looking to put $1 billion into additional Bitcoin on top of what they mentioned yesterday as well. As of yesterday's numbers, they held about $3.5 billion in Bitcoin, and now again looking to add an additional $1 billion to that. But that and so much more today as we look to again speak about blockchain in emerging markets. If you like what you hear today, make sure you click subscribe, share the article, check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family as we bring the best and the brightest to share their thoughts and insights and on-the-ground perspective of what's happening in the world today. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and introduce today's guests who will be joining to share their thoughts on this industry around blockchain and emerging markets. Ravi, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background.
Hey, Kyle, good to see you again. So just for the benefit of the listeners and watchers, I work for a hedge fund called Magic Carpet AI, and we are focused on digital asset investments using deep and reinforcement learning. And the reason why I was quite keen to jump on the call today is I've been involved in emerging markets investment for a considerable period of time in my career. So I was super interested to hear what the guys have to say and give you guys my input.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you and excited to dive deeper into that. And Brett, welcome back to the show as well. A little intro and a little background for everybody.
Sure. Brett Noyes, Managing Director of Unventures, early stage fintech focused investor syndicate. I kind of hesitate there, kind of as fintech focused incubator program. So working with really early stage companies, and about a third of the companies that we've worked with have been focused on emerging markets in some form or fashion.
Awesome. Wonderful. Welcome back, Brett. Jason, to you, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background.
Great to be here. Thanks, Kyle and LATOKEN. My fund is Propellant Ventures. We're about bold investing, empowering the future. We are a Midwest-based fund here in the U.S. We're focused on investing in pre-seed and seed stage companies across B2B industries such as fintech, future work, supply chain, ed tech, and some other industries. But fintech is definitely an area of interest, and we've seen a lot of great companies in the Midwest in that space. So happy to be here and to talk about the topic.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Tolga, welcome back as well. Always a pleasure. A little intro, a little background.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for having me. I started as a designer, developer. I worked at companies like Electronic Arts, Spin Master, before starting my own company, Thunderbolt. And I sold my company, Thunderbolt, to an investment company based in Canada in 2019. And that I was the CEO of that investment company until that venture became publicly traded in the Canadian Stock Exchange. And then after that, during the pandemic, I took some time off and I joined Loop EV Charging Network in 2020. And right now I'm the vice president of the company, and we are the fastest growing electric vehicle charging network in North America.
Wonderful. And welcome back, Tolga. Gary, I haven't seen you in a few minutes, but nonetheless, it's a pleasure to see you. Welcome back. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Yeah, my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies. Recently got tied in with a number of the Bitcoin or crypto, I guess, whales or super whales, I guess. And so I've worked on 2 unicorns, Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for 1.35. Actually named the company and came up with the strategies as a senior executive, and also Eva.ai, of which I'm the co-founder. I'm the CEO, president, and chairman of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier venture studio that is focused on bringing AI and quantum companies from wherever to Silicon Valley to be able to maximize their value and to really help them culture and form the company in the right kind of way to seek investment. And I'm also working with Khurram Sharaf. He's got $50 billion in Bitcoin today. Just announced yesterday a proposal to put $4.8 billion in a blockchain 2.0 in Miami. In fact, as we speak, I'm coordinating a call with the mayor of Miami for a show. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I personally did not realize the power of these super whales, and but it's incredible. And they want to spread out, they want to spread the word, and they want to invest in all kinds of different things. So it's an incredible time right now.
Absolutely, and a very, very exciting time in the industry as a whole. And Gary, let's kick it off with you as to what you're seeing in emerging markets, because Miami is a very interesting point of topic right now. And there was also proposals put into the mayor's office recently about letting not only the employees be paid in Bitcoin, but also accepting Bitcoin for city-based services, right? So paying taxes, paying mortgages, these types of things as well. So tell us just a little bit more about what you're hearing in the Miami or Florida region, and then maybe how that also is transitioning a little bit into Latin America. Again, blockchain and emerging markets.
It's funny, Kyle. It's kind of funny. I got to tell you. I just want to tell this story. We're all here.
Sure.
So I met the partner, Richard Branson, here on VCTV, one of his family office directors. That person introduced me to the founding astronaut of Virgin, who in turn introduced me to the guy that owns the Plaza Hotel, who in turn introduced me to this Khurram Sharaf. So it's a small integrated world. And what I'm seeing, just what's happened. So in the last week, we were on a WhatsApp chat, right, of all things, and one of the whales said, "Let's invest in Miami $3 billion." And now I saw the conversation because I was part of it. And then they said, well, that's not enough. Let's do more. How much will you put in? It came up to $4.8 billion. So, but the key is what they want to do is they want to move this. Basically what's happening now is it's becoming mainstream. I mean, I've never seen anything in my life, and I've been around the block a few times, move mainstream as fast as what's happening with Bitcoin and Ethereum right now, and the adoption of cryptocurrencies for all kinds of different reasons, from portability, et cetera. And as you know, Kyle, I mean, I was not a great supporter of it, but as I've started to dive into it and work on projects and seen incredible things, It's just, as we go through this digital transformation and banking, especially for, and I don't want to call Miami emerging markets, because tomorrow I have the mayor of Miami Beach that I have on my show. And the last thing I need data, and I don't want Suarez saying it, but, the opportunity is that we have to adapt to all these digital changes are taking place. So whether it's an emerging market that's looking to be able to have, they've got higher banking risks, or banking penetration, and they need to have the blockchain to be really critical to the infrastructure, or cities that have infrastructure like in Miami that just want to, plow ahead with the future. So it's happening as we speak. And, I think the difference is, we had thought about emerging markets like Africa and parts of Asia, but it's not the case. It's it's Kansas City, Missouri. Places that need to move forward and need to do it faster than later. So that's what I'm seeing. And of course, the challenge with blockchain is now with quantum coming out, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be all kinds of issues. I mean, you see probing happening right now around the world, in the UK, all over. They say, no, it's not. But I'm telling you, there's quantum computers in existence today that have capabilities to do extraordinary things, and there's probing taking place. And so we better be able to resist and look at cybersecurity in an entirely different way. Sooner than later, there's going to be some severe challenges.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gary. Brett, I would like to come to you next on this. In terms of emerging markets, you've been investing in fintech and along with Jason for many years now. And when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, so blockchain being the infrastructure, cryptocurrencies being the digital currency on top of that, what have you seen in terms of movement into emerging markets, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely moving. I think early on we saw the best use cases were in emerging markets. So one of the challenges in the US, like that we probably don't recognize, is that we have a really well-functioning, I know we don't think that on a day-to-day basis, financial system, whereas other emerging markets don't. But there's like both an opportunity and a challenge in that. So there are banks in America that are still using COBOL, whereas entrepreneurs that understand these emerging markets and also understand, blockchain technology have this opportunity to kind of leapfrog, go into these markets, build new, payment infrastructure, and using cryptocurrencies on top of that to create these like payment networks that are in some ways, better than the ones that currently exist in, the United States. So that's some of this type of stuff. So we've seen, just in general, we've just seen different entrepreneurs that are using this technology, like I said before, to just kind of leapfrog the legacy and kind of sometimes go around or build the infrastructure, the financial infrastructure that doesn't currently exist in these markets.
That's a good point. And, Jason, coming to you, following up on that, anything to add to Brett's thoughts there, but in general, maybe what are you seeing in emerging markets? And I'll throw the Midwest in there as well, as there has been some talk we've had on both online and offline about the activity around blockchain and also digital currencies within the region here in the United States. So anything to add on to Brett, and then again, what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of innovation in the Midwest, like other markets, and there's been definitely companies in various sectors with blockchain as the underlying technology, whether it's real estate tech, fintech, or payment technology. So we've seen healthcare technology. So I've seen a lot of that happen. And we have a lot of financial exchanges here in the Midwest. So we're definitely seeing technology built around that. Also in Latin American countries like that, some of the entrepreneurs I've talked to where the payment mechanisms are not as robust here in the US, they're using fintech and, with blockchain technology to allow businesses to make payments more easily than they typically could, as well as consumers. So, that's starting to happen in some of those markets. But in the Midwest, we definitely have innovation around a lot of these different industries that are growing because of blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tolga, I want to come to you next on this. I mean, talking about emerging markets, but also blockchain in general. I mean, working in the EV space, there is huge potential and growth around blockchain being applied, but then also the currency side, which we'll get into in a minute. But how are you seeing blockchain either applied to emerging markets and or EV as an industry as well?
I mean, Tesla just, Elon Musk just mentioned that they invested $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. And this is, I mentioned this actually earlier too in one of the other streams. Mm-hmm. This is a chain reaction that is happening. And I think there's a big movement right now. And there are multiple reasons why this is happening. I think one of the biggest reasons is right now there's so much liquidity in the market, and this is naturally causing a big push towards both the stock market and the cryptocurrencies. And obviously, like Elon Musk or Tesla, like all these like big names investing into crypto is creating big waves, and this naturally, creates an opportunity for entrepreneurs and investors. There's already like a big movement into electric vehicles and EV charging. And right now, I think it's just a matter of time how these technologies are going to be completely merging. I think, I mean, Elon Musk mentioned that they're going to be accepting cryptocurrency payments. So you're going to be able to buy a car by using Bitcoin, and you're going to invest into Bitcoin. Tomorrow you're going to make more money, and then you're going to put that money to buying an electric car, and then you go and you charge your car maybe using cryptocurrencies or something. It's just this entire ecosystem is growing, and I think it's extremely exciting. I think that there are going to be dozens, not even maybe dozens, maybe hundreds of startups that are like coming up, just filling this space, and also like being creative about like what else we can create, because there are really when you give tools to people, creative people, they always find ways to connect the dots and create new things out of these tools. And right now we are having a bunch of new tools, you say toys, like electric vehicle industry is not just I guess reimagining the cars, but also like it's completely integrating individual technology, like our smartphones, our cars, the buildings that we live in, the cryptocurrencies that we invest in on our phone. Everything is like in a I guess circle right now. So everything is becoming more connected, and it's becoming a huge ecosystem. I think there are going to be there are already big opportunities. I mean, I think that electric vehicle charging, which I represent Loop, I mean, I believe that it's going to be a massive industry, but also there are going to be maybe hundreds of other opportunities in the industry that are going to be really blowing up.
Well, to your point, I mean, we're just getting started in a lot of those industries. I mean, again, we're going to talk more about mobility and how blockchain will play a role, or has been playing a role here, as a number of companies, from the EV side to the general company side, Ford, BMW, Mercedes, Hyundai, Toyota, they've all been in this space, and not just at the track and trace supply chain level, but actually going down into the application layer as well, and bringing that side of payments into their offerings for potential vehicles and clients as well. But Ravi, real quick, also to you, what are you seeing currently happening in these emerging markets or transformative markets, as we've referred to them in the past, around blockchain?
Okay, so I mean, I think it's getting to the point where we've had some discussion about the payment space, and it's almost like that's not where the opportunity is now, because there's probably a ton of startups that are already involved in that space. Now, if I go back and cast my mind back to the time I spent as an emerging markets generalist in the securities industry, one thing that always struck me was that different countries, different regions of the world tend to have some sort of thematic or sectoral focus. So whether it's in commodity, energy, resource-driven countries, or whether they are not so resource-rich and they're more upstream in refineries, or whether they're focused on financials, or in Asia, for example, focused on the semiconductor industry. I think what you're going to find is that the blockchain industry will delve into those individual nations and start uncovering new opportunities in those industries. So let's take one of those, for example, and we talk about energy. Energy is a very old industry in how it's traded in US dollars globally, and there are very limited and restricted means of actually, for example, speculating or investing in commodity underlying investments. And that's where blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies can come in and really sort of democratize that and open up the markets to a much larger population of participants. And I would reflect that in the business that I'm involved in. We're an emerging asset manager, and given that we are building our fund platform around a crypto ecosystem, we're hoping to be able to open hedge fund type investments that are now available to a very small number of institutions and high net worth individuals, to a much larger group of individuals across the globe who possibly have never even had access to that sort of investment arena before.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, I want to toss this out there. We had breaking news late last week around Amazon, and Amazon talking about the launch of their digital currency in Mexico and, again, Latin America, where we've seen a number of activities and just a number of involvements of companies entering into the space. So we'd love to hear your thoughts, anybody, in terms of what this means. I mean, Amazon, one of the largest companies in the world, now entering the space after years worth of rumors with a digital currency in a transformative market, and one of potentially the hottest markets in terms of expenditures and demographics in the world over the next decade to 2 decades. Again, Latin America. What does this mean for the industry? If we pull all that back into blockchain, what does this type of announcement and activity really mean for Latin America? So we'd love to hear. We'll kind of open that up to everybody. So feel free to someone to jump in, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, look at what's going on with Amazon, right? And I just had a discussion with the Swedish group yesterday. So on one side, you got the digital currency. On the back end of this situation, as we start moving deep down in robotics with some of the newest systems are out for manufacturing, you can go down through, and it doesn't, you don't need to do it in China anymore. We're going to have localized manufacturing, because it's not about the number of people you have. It's about the quality of the systems that you have in place. So, I mean, Amazon's going to capture from the front end everything, to the back end. So they're creating their own economy, if you will. And so it's interesting to see the plays, because it's, they're closing the loop. I remember when Amazon was just a bookseller, and people said, "Oh, it's never going to work. Barnes and Nobles is doing it. Nobody's going to be buying their books from Amazon." Who's Amazon? It's a river, and here we are. So it, in terms of what does it mean? It's just one more player out there that validates that, these cryptocurrencies and this digital economy is moving forward. I mean, we're now, think about it, cross-border transactions for real estate. I mean, everything is changing very, 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 very quickly. And look over the last month with this, with the press coming out about, players that have been around for years now starting to buy into it. Then when you start to get Tesla, then you start to get cities and states, it's changing everything. It's starting, people are now, they're saying not what is Coinbase, but how do I get on?
Yeah, it's a good point. So digital economy was a key word that you used there, and would love to hear each of your thoughts around the digital economy as a whole, but more particularly around these transformative markets. We know that the bumps in the road when it comes to the United States, into China and parts of Europe that are moving forward with this, but we'd love to hear a bigger picture around some of the transformative markets as these economies start to come online. We had big announcements in Thailand, and Brett, I'm coming to you first on this. So Thailand, one of their biggest commercial banks, just announced a new venture fund to start investing, following the news and their activities around their digital currency project that's been years in the making as well. And so this is something that's starting to happen. So the digital economy, Brett, what's happening and how does this impact the transformative markets around the world?
Yeah, well, I just want to say one thing that kind of sort of answers your question. One thing that people don't think about, right? As I've kind of talked to people about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins over the years, and people always talk about how volatile it is, and it really is. And honestly, I'm not sure that it's the best digital currency. I think we'll actually come up with a better solution over time. But people don't fully understand, especially in the U.S., that Bitcoin is more stable than many, countries, currencies. Yeah. The idea of bringing this to emerging markets really is bringing stability, right? And that's what I think that the U.S. that we benefit from, having this great, stable. It doesn't feel that way today, but a stable, currency and market. And so I feel like that's the big opportunity. And hopefully, kind of going back to your previous question concerning Amazon, I just hope that they execute well. I feel like Libra really failed. It had a good opportunity to succeed, but failed. And hopefully Amazon, just executes better and really kind of proves out the technology and the use case. And I feel like the downside is if they don't, it kind of sends a signal to other corporations that they shouldn't, spend their time or energy, when investing in this technology.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm curious to see where that goes. I mean, Libra came at a very unique time in the industry, in all fairness, and now Demi. And so it's maybe a slightly different game to your point, but I think that is something that people need to be aware of as they start to roll out products and services built around both digital currencies and blockchain as a whole as well. And Jason, anything to add on to that? But in general, I mean, how are you seeing this impact those emerging markets?
Well, I think cannabis, for an example, with the whole non-federal regulation allowing it, there's payment technologies that allow, people obviously to pay for it. There's also coins that people have developed for that. And one of the scrolling just mentioned a German cannabis company is now accepting Bitcoin payment. Yeah, so I definitely see that for that industry is starting to really take off. And, and that's happening, I believe, around the world, but, in the US as well, we're seeing that happen. And it's a solution that's there until there's federal regulation allowing it, which I believe will happen. It's just a matter of time. But for now, these innovative entrepreneurs are creating solutions to allow that economy to continue to develop and flourish.
Well, and that's a good point. And also, I mean, to add on to that, you've got MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal. But really, MasterCard and Visa now have come out and said, hey, we're here. And we are here not only in the market, but we're going to open up the opportunity for all of our merchants and all of our customers to use digital currencies around the world. So you've got the two of the biggest payment processors in the world who now have opened the floodgates for this anywhere. Which we'll see how those dominoes fall as well. But Tolga, back to you, and thank you, Jason and Brett. I mean, Tolga, again, transformative markets, but even more so, I mean, how is this going to affect the future of EV and electric vehicles as a whole, from the charging to the network to everything in between? How are blockchains and digital currencies going to impact that?
Blockchain in particular is very important because it's going to allow these transactions to happen, safely. Right now, I mean, most of the EV charging is in the industry. Honestly, in the past 10 years, it's been more like a marketing stunt for the companies that are around right now in the EV charging. They have been around for a while, and they actually started this. The EV charging ventures, their hardwares, everything. They mostly build all these products around an idea of, EVs are going to be there in the future partially. They built their business models in the past 10 years based on this idea, saying that, they believe that, in buildings or restaurants, let's put couple EV chargers So that would be a marketing thing as well. If electric vehicles come, then we charge and make some money too. I mean, that was the idea, like in the last 10 years, why, like how these EV charging companies emerged. But fast forward 2020, pandemic happens and the electric vehicles take off. Like literally right now, I don't see a future without the electric vehicles anymore. I think that by the year of 2030, we're going to be seeing more than half of the cars are going to be electric, and at that point, EV charging is going to become a massive industry, and that's going to change the whole, like the color of everything. As I mentioned, like the current EV charging landscape, there are big players. They raise significant amount of monies, and they are installing chargers. But the business model is extremely important here, because with blockchain and cryptocurrencies, by integrating these newest technologies, you can actually create a very sustainable business model that costs almost nothing to people when they are driving their cars. So the goal is to make this a very, like, our goal is not to charge insane amount of money to people, so we're just replacing the oil industry. So the money that goes to the oil comes to the electric vehicle charging company. It's not like that. Right now, there's going to be a big race on how can we make this as sustainable as possible, so the drivers don't spend that much money for driving around, and we really use the electricity and the energy in the most optimum way. And how can we make this entire industry a very eco-friendly and also sustainable in general. So right now, this is a different race. This is not like, oh, let's put like gas stations all over, Chevron, Exxon, and we make the most amount of money. This is not that race. The race is right now is about how can we make this the most sustainable in different ways. And this is what we are doing too. I mean, I can't get into the details of what kind of like product roadmap that we have in mind, but of course I'm not going to say that. But I mean, we have like really great ideas in terms of how to make this the most profitable for site owners, restaurants, apartment buildings, office buildings. They're all going to make money out of this. But at the same time, like I said, money is, I believe that money is in this second. It's not the priority. The most important thing is making this the most sustainable for everybody, and that's why the business model is extremely important. And you're going to hear more about Loop in the next year or so. Yeah,
you're darn right we are, and we're excited about it too. There's a lot that you and the team are doing, Tolga, and excited to dive deeper on that. But we actually had a great question from the audience as well just moments ago, so I want to propose it to all of you. What's next for crypto and digital currencies here in 2021? For context, we've got a ton of headlines that have already come out in the 6 weeks that we are into this year. We've got a number of major network and infrastructure upgrades due out. Ethereum 2.0 is supposed to begin rolling out. Demi, or formerly known as Libra, is supposed to launch at the end of this quarter, so in about a month and a half. We have NFT sales, as I mentioned, already over $100 million in the last 30 days and more to come. So to the group, what's next for crypto and for digital currencies in 2021? And thank you to the audience for the question. Ravi, let's start with you. What's next for the industry here in 2021?
Well, I mean, I love the list that you just read out, because that's super exciting. I mean, some of those things I'm very aware of, some of them not so aware. But, give a quick loop back to the discussion earlier about Amazon. I mean, things like that are extremely important, as I can't remember who it was that mentioned, but, the results of that kind of project in a company like Amazon will have huge amounts of media attention and huge amounts of impact in terms of how quickly people make investments or gamble on this type of technology going forward. So, and you know, another great example at the moment is somebody mentioned earlier on the IPO of Coinbase, which is potentially going out on private valuations of close to $80 billion, which is like, just think about that. The market cap of a bank like Barclays, I think, is maybe 20 billion. So you're getting these companies coming out on valuations that are just showing you what the market is already viewing about the potential of digital assets, not just from a trading perspective, but what companies like Amazon and Tesla and so on are eventually going to be doing and creating new types of markets. And you know, the point of this call is about emerging markets, and I think part of the reason for having that call is because we sitting in the US or London or wherever it happens to be don't have a huge amount of visibility about what the entrepreneurs are doing in those areas. We hear a lot about the crises in terms of payments in places like Venezuela or Iran or wherever it happens to be, fleeing to Bitcoin in response to the economic crisis they face in those places. But it's not all just from a reaction to negative events. There are plenty of entrepreneurs in all corners of the globe that are working on interesting technologies to solve problems that are more local to their jurisdictions. So again, the list is super exciting, and I think this global ecosystem is now developing and becoming more mature, and it's going to become an amazing enabler for all these people who are not Amazon or not Facebook to do amazing things as well.
That's a good point. Brett, anything to add on to that as to where we're going here in 2020, or Ravi? And also Mark, just a quick shout out to one of our viewers. I saw your question. We'll come to that here next, but Brett, to you.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily have anything to add on. Just completely agree with everything everyone's saying. Just want to throw out the idea that I like to bring up on a pretty constant basis for emerging markets. I really love the idea of building a decentralized bank that brings more people into financial inclusion. And I think the technology and the cryptocurrencies has the ability to solve that problem. So hopefully we'll see some people with the momentum that's moving forward with the adoption of this. Hopefully we'll see some entrepreneurs like really attack that in a big way in the upcoming years.
Absolutely. And one of the questions I want to, before we finish out this, Mark, again, shout out. Thank you for tuning in today. What are some of the thoughts as to why Amazon chose Mexico to launch their digital currency project? Is the question that we have out there. And remember, Mexico City is one of the largest cities in the world. According to 2018's latest census on the global scale, it was the number 5, so 5th largest city. That might have changed since, but nonetheless, it's got over 20 million people existing in that city and growing as well. So again, Mark's question is, what are some thoughts as to why Amazon chose Mexico over potentially other cities or countries as well? So can I open that to the floor?
Yeah. I mean, Kyle, just think about it. Remember, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, but there's 647 million people in Latin America, and Mexico is looked at being very close to the U.S. And so it's going to have a dramatic impact throughout Latin America when they do it. So, I mean, and who else is really focused on that market? You don't hear that many people that are focused on it. So if you want to go in, you always look for the point of weakness and greatest opportunity. So, I mean, he's smart. I mean, it's a good way to do it. So I think that, that's part of it. And he's really riding the crest of the wave, right? The rest of as this is getting adapted very quickly. And remember the FUD factor, right? There was fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the cryptocurrencies, but that's starting to come down as these players start to get in that have name brand recognition. And it's going to come down very, very quickly as the top players come in. You're going to see mass adoption. You'll see, Ethereum go through the roof, probably 10x. You'll see, Bitcoin 5-6x of where it is today. It's going to just start moving very, very quickly because people are going to start. The masses hadn't bought in before, but I mean, even I'm getting calls asking me, how do you buy cryptocurrencies?
Right. Well, and back to Mark's question, I absolutely agree. And one other point I want to add on to Mark's question is, Mark, also part of Mexico and why Latin America, and from my research as well, is Mexico and Latin America as a whole has one of the fastest growing middle class globally right now. That used to be in Southeast Asia, that's now actually moved into Latin America. So there's more of a growing middle class concentration in that region that is also looking for financial independence and financial tools, whether it's savings, it's trading, investing, et cetera. So there's a huge opportunity. And Mexico in particular is a huge manufacturing hub as well. So some of the world's largest manufacturers have huge outposts in that area. So in addition to what Gary said, it makes sense. Also, when it comes to Southeast Asia, there's a number of projects. Also in Europe, there's a number of projects at the country level. So it seems like this may have been a good middle ground as to what was or wasn't happening already in the country as well. We spoke yesterday about what's happening in Brazil and greater South America, as there's a number of activities again at the government level. So just a few thoughts. Hope that answers your question as well. And everyone, we are almost at time. I did not realize we had such a good conversation going. So I do want to come around for quick closing thoughts, and then where everyone can find you as well. So Brett, let's start with you. Quick closing thoughts, anything to add on to the question we had or in general, and then where can everyone find you?
Yeah, some just general thoughts here. There's big opportunities using technology. I think there's big emerging opportunities in emerging markets, to be a little redundant, or transformative markets, as we've been told to call it now. I just think that, great opportunities that didn't exist before. So I would love to see entrepreneurs that are, finding new creative ways to, bring financial services to the masses in these underserved markets. Brett Noyce you can be found at brnoyce at unventures.co. Twitter and LinkedIn at Brett Noyce. And as always, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brett, as well. Ravi, any closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online?
So I guess I'd like to loop back just to the origins of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies from the aftermath of the 2008 crisis. The whole idea was to create a new system that wasn't tied down to global monetary policy, which is controlled by 3 central banks. Now, we talk about Latin America, look at the currencies of Venezuela or even Argentina. I mean, and Argentina is a country which had a large middle class, which has probably constricted massively. I like to think that the crypto economy or the blockchain economy can be this great leveler, which allows some of these very suffering, almost spiraling currencies to become part of to re-emerge as part of a global financial system through new local opportunities, and take away that monopoly from the US dollar, which ultimately controls the big commodity markets and various other channels that mean that the Fed has ultimate control over the global monetary policy, which needs to potentially be leveled out for these other economies to have a chance.
Wonderful, and thank you, Ravi. Where can everyone find you online, by the way?
I'm also available on LinkedIn. Please find me there.
Wonderful, thank you. Jason, to you, closing thought, where can everyone find you on propelventures.com? Or excuse me, Propel Ventures. Already gave it away.
Yeah, this is to take off a lead off of what Ravi said a little bit. I think Bitcoin and other cryptos, the utility has come back. It's not just necessarily an investment vehicle, while that's still a big part of it. But as you see more companies accepting Bitcoin as payment or revisiting it, it's starting to have a real utility where it's embedded into our financial system. So I think we're going to see more of that for sure. And I think some professional athletes now are accepting Bitcoin. And so, it's becoming more and more common now. But you can reach me at propellantventures.vc, as well as Jason at propellant.vc, and also on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jason. Gary, closing thought, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I happened to be riding my bike. There's a gas station right across the street that now has a Bitcoin ATM. And I knew when that happened that the world was going to change, because this gas station, now it's a nice gas station, it's a nice neighborhood, but it was incredible. So, the world is changing, the digital transformations upon us, the democratization of opportunity, security. And so I'm excited about it. We're going to see a lot of changes taking place in the next 12 months. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn, Twitter. Check out my shows. Tomorrow I have the mayor of Miami Beach on. We're going to talk about technology and all the, not only is it Miami, but of course Miami Beach is where some of the wealthiest people in the world are, Fisher Island, et cetera. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, so if you get a chance to tune in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Tolga, close us out. To where can everyone find you, and any closing thoughts as well?
Thank you, Kyle. As I mentioned, I mean, the ecosystem of electric vehicles, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, the sustainable energy, renewables, everything is, I think, coming together really interestingly. And I think, I mean, in the next like 12 months to 18 months, there are going to be big changes. Electric vehicle industry is going to grow massively. I think it's going to be an exciting year with, you know, how many new electric vehicle cars that we're going to be seeing in the door in the roads. It's not just going to be Tesla. They're going to be Lucid, Ford, you name it. I mean, many, Nissan is coming, Honda. They're all coming with their own EVs, and this is going to be pretty much just restarting the competition in the auto industry. And it's also like the EV charging industry is going to be, I believe that it's going to be $1 trillion industry. And I think the opportunities within the EV charging industry is not only limited to you know, charging your car, but also doing so many other things. That includes blockchain, which includes cryptocurrencies. This whole ecosystem is coming together very interestingly, and I think it's going to be an extremely hot market. You can find me at tolgaonuk.com, and my LinkedIn is tolgaonuk. Our new website is, we are launching actually either today or Monday, probably. You can check it at evloop.io. I'm super excited about it because we built probably the best looking website in the EV charging industry. So please check it out.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check in Tolga Loop website and all of the websites along with all of our investors today. And also, if you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, share the episode, and also check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from all of our speakers today and the entire VCTV family of speakers and investors that we bring to you every single day from around the world. And if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor or as an entrepreneur to share your thoughts and insights along with on-the-ground perspective around different technologies, industries, and regions, reach out and we'll find the right spot for you. Also, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Make sure to reach out. You can find me everywhere online, like all of our investors mentioned, on all social media platforms, along with on Twitter and LinkedIn. But make sure you add context when you do reach out. We'd love to be able to continue the right conversation, so let us know where you met us, where you heard of us, and also what you would like to continue the conversation. And a big thank you to the audience for tuning in and all the great questions. Keep them coming. We'll be back here tomorrow with more VCTV, and also find us on Clubhouse as we start to host episodes in Clubhouse as well. With that, everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll speak soon. Bye.